Hello all and welcome to Shatter Our Souls with Novaria. Today we are tackling the Banana Cup 50cc on Mario Kart Wii without the use of items. Quick rundown of the rules. Yes, I can end up dropping items if and only if I get hit by items such as blue shells, shocks, or POW blocks. All other item usage that is intentional or not is pretty well banned. There we go, them's the rules. And here we are in Sherbet Land. And I'll be honest, there's a huge difference in Mario Kart Wii and really the rest of the franchise when it comes to the quality of the, shall we call it, the Nitro Cups and the Retro Cups. And I think this is rather evident in Mario Kart Wii among all of them, as Mario Kart Wii does a really good job of showcasing some courses in a new light, like Sherbet Land from the N64, whereas others, like the Game Boy game or the Game Boy Mario Kart Super Circuit courses, showing up and kind of being middling as far as my personal opinion goes. They're serviceable. They do the job okay, but they're not something that I would actively seek out on a regular basis to play on a regular, yes, let's play this course kind of mentality. So, I wanted to first kind of mention kind of the expectations around this. So, from my little bit of experimentation with Mario Kart Double Dash, I found that the entire game was pretty okay as a runner type gameplay style. This being that the player is aiming to get as far ahead as possible to try to avoid enemies or attacks getting to them as often as possible, with the oddballs that do get to it being like blue shells, red shells, and that's pretty well it. Shocks was the other big one. But Mario Kart Wii is known for being significantly more punishing when it comes to item play. And this is going to be the crux of the issue for this entire run. Because if your game effectively forces you to stop dead in your tracks every time you get hit by a red shell, it's going to be difficult, shall we say, to maintain a good level of speed to get ahead of the opponents. And ironically, the further ahead we get, the more likely they are going to get higher end weapons and items to be able to knock us back down. So, ironically, this one is the Mario Kart that I am actually least comfortable with the idea of being able to beat itemless. I feel like it's possible, but I feel like the amount of luck required to make it happen is astronomical compared to both Mario Kart Double Dash and the other game I'm most familiar with, Mario Kart 8. But hey, we're here to figure it out. So, here we are. So far so good as far as what we've done. We've only done the Flower Cup and now the Banana Cup in 50cc. And so far it's been pretty reasonable. I got hit a few dozen times in the Flower Cup, which definitely didn't make things feel all that great. But first track down, 15 points in hand, and we're off to Shy Guy Beach. Shy Guy Beach is the first of a Game Boy track as far as Mario Kart Wii is concerned. And it is also probably one of the more unique and interesting of the Game Boy tracks. It's definitely a good pick for Mario Kart Wii. As far as this one is concerned, effectively, it is a series of straightaways around a block, if you will. This square-ish track has very little in the terms of back and forth or obstacle play outside of the crabs, and, of course, the cannonballs, which also explode. That's just how it is. The cannonballs exploding and the nastiness that is ink definitely is going to make this one more challenging in later attempts. And there are a couple relatively easy to access shortcuts. But we're going to find that there's kind of, I want to say there's two major types of tracks. And I'm not even just referring to whether or not it is a runner track or a bagger track. I'm referring to whether or not it is designed to be good for karts or bikes. Now, in Mario Kart Double Dash, it didn't really matter whether a track was built around a specific type of vehicle, because it didn't matter. Most vehicles could handle everything rather easily. You would have the same luck with a heavyweight kart as you would with a light kart, and vice versa. With the biggest issue being top speed or acceleration. And this is kind of important because effectively, with Double Dash, it became that top speed was more important as a result of, hey, we need to be able to get ahead of the opponents as quickly as possible and keep it. Effectively, unless I got hit by something like a bomb or a blue shell, I was pretty well in the clear when I was doing the high-end, high-speed runs. Mario Kart Wii has straight line tracks, which favor bikes, and curvy tracks, which I personally believe favors karts. And the reason I want to voice this is because there are some tracks that really do well with bikes. This one in particular, being all straightaways, means that as soon as you can get a wheelie off, you're making a huge advantage as far as top speed goes. But you end up losing out a little bit in curvy tracks, because curvy tracks end up losing... how do I want to word it? You end up losing the ability to get long-standing wheelies in exchange for high-end, high-speed turns. Now, to be clear, there aren't very many tracks that really focus in on the wheelie aspect. And there aren't many tracks that are curvy enough that the wheelie isn't going to be useful. So generally speaking, if we get a bike, we're going to be in better shape than if we end up with a kart. So that is the first major bit of good news. The bad news is, this is Mario Kart Wii, and it's going to make sure that we know exactly what we're up against. Anyways, Delfino Pier or Delfino Plaza, I can't recall which one it is, but this particular course is based around Super Mario Sunshine. And I'll be honest, this was always one of those tracks that existed in my mind. It wasn't one that I ever found super enthralling or interesting, but it is one that I can acknowledge definitely does a fair bit in terms of characterization of Delfino. I just wish that we would get more courses that kind of supported these different locales within all of Mario Kart history and Mario history. Because arenas or areas like Tick-Tock Clock in Mario 64 were super engaging, but areas like Tick-Tock Clock was one of those courses that was super engaging and one that I always loved. And it only ever got one course surrounded by that time theme. Theoretically, it's one that I could see making multiple courses just on the merit of it's a unique gimmick. Let's do it. So, yeah. Overall, I think we're in good shape. I think 50cc is going to be easy. 100cc is going to end up getting to that kind of questionable mark. 150 and mirror mode are where the pain train is really going to come into the station. Because, honestly, the higher up the difficulty ladder you get, the more likely that Mario Kart Double Dash is going to try to stop you by whatever means necessary. And that's kind of the crux of the issue for this is Double Dash is unforgiving. Not Double Dash, Mario Kart Wii is unforgiving. Hoofty, I'm getting myself all confuzzled here. Anywho, so I think this will be possible, just not very likely. Anyway, with all this being said, Mario Kart has had numerous, shall we say, revolutions over the course of its runtime the last 20 years. Super Mario Kart was designed around the idea that anybody could play Mario Kart and enjoy the game. Mario Kart 64 was meant to take everything that Mario Kart for the Super Nintendo did and tried to make it better, stronger, faster, make the player all the more invested in it. And I think they did a great job with Mario Kart 64. They jumped to Super Circuit, which really tried to refine the gameplay style of the original and dial it in. Super Circuit is also the Mario Kart that I think definitely doesn't get the love it deserves comparatively to other Mario Karts. After that, we had Double Dash. And Double Dash was where they really started getting funky and experimental with their Mario Kart games, because they started playing around with the idea of multiple racers, special karts, or special weight classes, and unique vehicles. It was the first Mario Kart that really tried to push for newness, something completely different than what came before. Mario Kart Double Dash gave way to Mario Kart DS. And DS was one of those games that, love it or hate it, it did a lot of good, and I think that it really solidified Mario Kart formula, shall we say. Mario Kart DS took things in a different direction and said, okay, we already have weight classes, we already have items, what about a mission mode? And they tested around that mentality and also having connectivity between multiple systems, allowing multiple players to play using their own device, each of them spreading out the load of a, shall we say, maintaining an entire game, shall we say. But they didn't just stop there. Mario Kart Wii, being the 6th entry to the franchise, kind of turned the idea on its head a little bit and said, okay, we've done all of this with multiple karts, we've done all of this with different driving styles, we've done all of this with different item play. What if we took it and added motion controls so it felt like you were actually driving a car? And so you did. And Mario Kart Wii really solidified the Wii wheel style play. And admittedly, I'm the type of guy who despises the motion controls for Mario Kart Wii, because in my mind, motion controls always felt off. They weren't bad, but it was just really hard to drift with the Wii wheel. And I grew to love the precision of Mario Kart 8. Mario Kart 7 said, hey, let's mess around with how to build a kart. Maybe we can add more stuff to make every piece of the kart more unique, so that every player drives what they themselves want to drive. And Mario Kart 8 said, hey, let's do an anti-gravity gimmick. And every game really tried to push what was possible in Mario Kart, while also trying to keep the core of the franchise the same. I gotta give it credit where it's due. It's a great series that has had numerous revisions. And if I'm being honest, every game has its own merit for being played individually. Double Dash is just the one that I have the most nostalgia for, because that was my first Mario Kart. Mario Kart Wii was my second, and by the time I hit Mario Kart 8, well, we already know Mario Kart 8 has been one of the most well-received Mario Karts in the franchise. But with 60 points in hand, Mario Kart Wheeze 50cc Nanner Cup is officially mission complete. If you like what you see or are curious how far we can actually push this, drop a like, leave subscribe, and maybe even a comment down below. I'd love to hear it. Until then, and until next time, I hope you all have a good one.